me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
So I think it's a whole new world where we look at labor differently. And so the labor in this industry is going to shift more to kind of like a sheep and a shepherd. The Parks and Rec professionals are going to have to up their skill set in machine maintenance, and then kind of shepherding, maybe driving them to one field and maybe releasing 5 or 6 of them to go do their thing. Obviously we got to replace blades, and we got to replace spindles or belts or whatever else that, might need to be regularly maintained.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We've got some exciting facility maintenance updates for you today. We recently spoke with Kim Bybee and her team from Carrollton, Texas, who are national leaders in integrating autonomous robots, EV trucks, and battery-powered equipment into their parks and recreation facilities. They're revolutionizing park maintenance with autonomous lawnmowers and quadcopter sprayers. We'll have them back to share more about their innovative approach. We're also expanding our content with spin-off shows on urban forestry, project management, golf course maintenance, aquatic facilities, therapeutic recreation, and special events. Our goal is to create a comprehensive digital library for every niche within the parks and recreation community. Stay tuned for more on the Facilities Maintenance Show, where we're shaping the future of parks and recreation.
All right, this is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, airing from New Orleans, one of my favorite coffee houses. If you haven't been to Bread on the Oaks, it's on Oak Street. Y'all are going to love it. Okay, so we got a lot of updates for the show, the general show, but also for facilities maintenance. Got a new logo. I just approved it today, so I didn't get the one with the background corrected. So I'll have that for y'all tomorrow. We also have a newsletter that goes out. It's called the Daily. Hold on, let me see. I don't want to mess it up. It's called, let's see, the Weekly Parks and Rec Post. And I absolutely love the logo. And so that's a weekly newsletter. It's going to go out every Sunday, just highlighting the previous week's interviews, the people, the park systems that come on the show, and the YouTube thumbnail and the links to all that. So we do about 12 shows a week. So that'll be coming out. Actually, we released our first one yesterday. So every Sunday you can expect to get that. And we'll slowly start to email it to, we're going to kind of slowly roll it out. If you are one of the early recipients over the next month of our weekly newsletter, it's mainly because we're looking for feedback from the community. And so appreciate all the feedback that we're getting, especially from yesterday's. So, but eventually we'll expand it out to our entire audience so that after we kind of get it dialed in a little bit, get it all edited and looking just right. So, be looking for that. So I had a great conversation with Kim. I'm going to let everybody know what you're doing. So Kim, I think her last name was Bybee. Let me make sure I'm saying that correctly because I don't want to mispronounce. Yes, Kim Bybee over at Carrollton, Texas, I believe. Let me make sure. I know she's in the Dallas metro area, but I just want to make sure she's with the right. Yes, city of Carrollton, Texas, right outside the Dallas metro area. So I have interviewed, oh gosh, well, this is my 171st episode. I've spoken to, I got to be pushing over 400 leaders in Parks and Rec this year. And one of the questions y'all know I'm a technologist at heart. I love studying disruptive technologies, been doing that for such a long time. And so I'm really excited about this army of robots that's coming to Parks and Rec facility maintenance through robotic lawnmowers, robotic sprayers, flying quadcopter sprayers that spray, when they identify that this is an unwanted plant, and then they spray it with weed killer or fertilize it if it's one that you want. and then also the field sprayers. There's just a ton of fully autonomous robots that are coming into this industry that I just can't wait to highlight. And Kim and her team, Richard also, is our superintendent, have just done a crazy good job at being a front runner to this coming into our industry. I would argue that at they may be the number one in the nation. So congratulations, Kim, for being a leader in integrating fully autonomous robots and electrical, like EV trucks and battery powered lawnmowers. I mean, weed eaters and blowers and stuff. So I think they're really doing a great job of setting a good example and a good model. And so we're going to have them on the show. Probably end up doing a couple of shows with them. If I know I'm open to it, and I think they are too, but I don't want to speak out of turn. And just really have her and Richard explain to us their thought process. What were they going through when they had to, it was time to replace the old mowers, and what was that decision like to say, hey, let's take a chance on this new technology, even though it's probably not fully matured, kind of glitchy. I know they were struggling finding labor, and had a slot to fill, but using the autonomous fleet that they bought, and I want to say it's quite a number of machines. It might be like, if my memory serves me right, I want to say they had like 8 fully autonomous lawnmowers, and I think they have like 6 sprayers for their soccer fields where they spray the lines and stuff. And then she also says that they have something along the lines that's basically a VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing quadcopter that can spray. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about on their show. And I think this is just such great content for the facilities maintenance side of Parks and Rec, because this is revolutionary technology. It's not often that Parks and Recreation is going to be at the forefront of disruptive technology and innovation, but here we are, because there are tens of thousands of sports fields, golf courses, parks, green spaces that are tens of hundreds of thousands of those, if we include green spaces and parks and all that stuff, throughout America that are being maintained by municipal government through their Parks and Rec department. And so a natural fit for, where are the grass cutters at? Who owns the land that's being maintained? And that's the park systems. And so they are a big market segment of grass cutters, fleets of man and machine going out to keep the grass cut, right? And this is a total new way to different from the traditional. The traditional is gas powered with a man or a woman, behind a weed eater, behind a blower, spraying, spreading fertilizer, cutting grass, painting fields. This was always done by a person behind a machine. And now we have it to where we don't need the person. And I think most of the autonomous stuff is still supervised autonomy. If any of you own a Tesla, it's autonomous, but it's not full autonomous. They want you to kind of stay there, keep your hand on the steering wheel, intervene if something happens. And so I think that's kind of how this is. You're going to see this industry roll out their machines, their fully autonomous robots, in the same way, that you can't just walk away from them. But they're moving towards you can walk away from them. And maybe some of them are already there if they have, a predetermined, very roped off, soccer field within the boundaries of the soccer field itself. So it's not like cutting ditches and going around parking lots and stuff. It's mainly just cutting the bulk field. But I'm going to let Kim and Richard explain their experience, because as far as I know, they have the most advanced fleet of autonomous robots helping them maintain their Parks and Rec facilities. Now, if I am wrong in this, and there's someone that's maybe ahead of them, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the show and let's get this information out of there, because I think a lot of the park systems are in a, well, let's wait and see. Let's let the technology mature. But I think according to Kim's experience, that the market is mature enough for them to go in big on this, and there may not be a need to wait. Maybe right now you can start replacing those old mowers with autonomous mowers, and there's no need to wait. And I think all we need is a few examples that are willing to kind of test it out, and then come up on the show and say, well, here's what we found, and here's the numbers. And I really want to dig into, like, what are the numbers? How much did you pay? How much did you save in labor? What does the maintenance look like? How long are these machines going to last? Are they going to last 7, 8, 9 years? Or, what about battery replacement? And really just kind of keep at the forefront and real time get feedback, and maybe even have Kim, if they're open to it, to come give us regular updates on the show, maybe quarterly, a couple times a year, 4 times a year. We have them just say, all right, update from Kim and her crew with the robot fleet. It's a terrible idea. Don't do it. It's cutting up everything. Or no, these things are working great. They're actually lasting a long time. And these are their working hours. So how many hours a week can you run a lawnmower? Well, I mean, a lawnmower can run pretty much nonstop with a few little maintenance hours in a week. So you could run a lawnmower, maybe not 168 hours a week. But you put headlights on it and a man on it, and you just swap out drivers. But that's kind of impractical. It's usually not the machines that's the holdup. It's usually the labor sitting on the machine that's the holdup. However, with an autonomous fleet, they can just keep rolling. They can cut at night. They can cut weekends. They can cut during off times. They can cut during holidays. They really don't. A robot doesn't have a holiday season. They'll cut during Christmas Day, no problem. So I think it's a whole new world where we look at labor differently, and so the labor in this industry is going to shift more to kind of like a sheep and a shepherd. So I'm thinking that the Parks and Rec professionals are going to have to up their skill set in machine maintenance, and then kind of shepherding, where we're maybe driving them to one field and maybe releasing 5 or 6 of them to go do their thing. Obviously we got to replace blades, and we got to replace spindles or belts or whatever else that might need to be regularly maintained. And then while these machines are working and you've got men on the property, you may have them pressure washing or taking out trash or doing some of the stuff that really need a human touch. And it's going to be kind of, I think, more of a symbiotic relationship where you've got man and machine working together, autonomous machines. And to me, this is exciting, guys. I don't know anything, at least from it. Now, maybe I'm just, thinking of the world of the Jetsons, where robots are doing a lot more work and we're just kind of enjoying life and kind of giving them direction as to what we want done in the park systems. And I see that world coming at us faster than you can imagine. I previously, before starting the Daily Parks and Rec show, I was a big technologist, following Tesla closely, following autonomous robots closely. I'm an engineer by trade, master electrician before that. And I've always just been amazed by this, just as a hobby. But I followed it as an investor for quite some time. And so to see this come into an industry that I love so much with Parks and Recreation, especially an industry that, is getting budget cuts left and right. This is a way that you can do more with less, that you can, I know it's getting harder and harder to find labor to work in the maintenance department. And so this kind of provides a solution for that. And then I also think that we're going to be able to pay our laborers that are in park maintenance a little more, because they're going to have to up their skill on maintaining these machines. And, 1 man and 5 machines is going to be able to do more work than 1 man and 1 machine, especially when these machines can work off hours. So really exciting stuff, and really excited to present it. Okay. So that's coming up, and I want to make more content around that. Also, we have a couple of natural spinoffs of the facility maintenance show that I'm starting to see organically present themselves. Obviously, one of them is going to be an urban forestry weekly show, at least a monthly show. We've just got so much. There's so much when it comes to urban forestry. and the study of trees and how we care for them and plant them and choose what species and how to maintain them and, keep them looking pretty. Um, I just, I've been told by other master arborists that I've had on the show that they would have absolutely no problem filling 52 hours a year worth of content that's relevant and interesting and useful and valuable to the urban forestry community inside the Parks and Rec community. So I think we're going to just, you'll probably see a spinoff show that's just focused on urban forestry. And so now the question is, what are the other parts of facility maintenance that may merit a monthly or a weekly podcast focused on that specific part of facilities maintenance? Another obvious one is project management. Thanks you to Daniel Schaefer, who was a regular guest on the show, where we just really pulled the onion apart to try to dig deeper into what are the different parts of what it means to manage a project through Parks and Recreation. And there are international certifications for project management. He's got, I wonder if I remember correctly, he said he's got 6 4-inch thick binders that, and he's taking a test, I think, within the next 30 days to be certified as a project manager. So project manager certification school has a ton of content. And I know there's a lot of professionals that are, have gone deep down project management, and that is the only thing they do in their Parks and Rec department. They do nothing but manage projects. And I actually have many of these as friends. So they could talk about project management till the end, till the end of time. So I see that being a natural show. Also, I see one just around maintaining golf courses, maintaining, running, upkeep, you name it. Golf courses is its own beast. I don't see us being able to stop that from becoming a weekly or a monthly show. Another one is maintaining aquatics facilities. Another one is, and this might come out of the leaders in Parks and Rec. I see us doing one for therapeutic recreation. I mean, that is its own world, therapeutic recreation. Also, special events is another big one. And so right now we're just kind of, if like special events and therapeutic recreation, it's part of the conversation that we have on the leaders in Parks and Rec, which is mostly just directors talking about how they lead the different functions and departments within their departments. But really, if you look at just special events, that across America, we've got, some teams that's all they do is special events. They literally have like 4 or 5 people working 40 hours a week, doing nothing but special events for their city. Same thing when it comes to therapeutic recreation. There's Parks and Rec professionals, that's all they do is therapeutic recreation. We could do one on senior care. We could do one on, and so as we look to build out a total complete media network of shows for Parks and Recreation, I think you're going to have these different silos where we take that content and just kind of compartmentalize it so that if you're in therapeutic recreation within the Daily Parks and Rec show or the DPRS media company, you're going to find an entire content library just on therapeutic recreation. If you're a master arborist working inside of a parks department, you're going to have an entire channel and content library just on urban forestry. And what that does is it allows us to go super deep at the granular level, because if you are working full time as an arborist in the urban forestry division of Parks and Rec, this is all you do. This is all you think about. And it might not be interesting to go super deep in urban forestry for the rest of the Parks and Rec community, but for you and the nation's arborists that are working for Parks and Rec, it is, because this is what you do. It's kind of like you talk and shop every day. And so that's kind of how I see this building out over the next few months. Now, obviously, we can't launch all these shows immediately. We're going to have to, we're scaling up, but I think we're up to 7 shows that should be up and running by the end of this month. We've got to make logos for them. We're making commercials for them, to cross promote within each of the other shows. We're also adding sponsors that, obviously a bucket truck company that sells chainsaws is not interested in promoting their products on the Therapeutic Recreation Show, but they probably love to be on the Urban Forestry Show. So where it looks like a natural fit that's been working, serving the scene, this industry for a long time, then we'll invite them to come onto the show, share with us the product or services that they are giving to the Parks and Rec community, and bring them on as a sponsor to sponsor that show dedicated to urban forestry. And then we can then we'll have the revenue, we'll have the manpower to expand out the other shows in a very organic way. But I think after only 6 months of operation, we have, I think, unearthed quite a need in this industry. And I think that's why it's growing so fast, because there really was not a digital place for them to view the content that was relevant to their workplace. And like I've been told by a lot of directors, that unfortunately a lot of the state associations are not able to do as much for maintenance professionals as they wish they could, and a lot of them just can't attend. A lot of the maintenance professionals have to stay home and maintain the facility. And usually the Parks and Rec directors have to be very picky and choosy because they've only got like 3 approved slots to attend their state event or the national event for Parks and Rec. And so that means, 80, 90% of the workforce just never gets to attend an association or an in-person event where they get to see all the latest and greatest lawnmowers and playground equipment and, splash pads and whatever, like the directors and superintendents and assistant directors do. So what we'd like to do is kind of create a home for all that content to be captured, edited, and then distributed and housed in a digital library that we can all have access to. So anyway, that's kind of the update I have for y'all today. We do have a special guest coming on here in a few minutes. Let me pull up her name for a second. It is John Koala. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a good one. So he's coming on the Leaders in Parks and Rec show at 11 a.m. And then we've got a full show, 3 shows on, tomorrow we are launching. That's right. Tomorrow is the first podcast ever for The Rec Room. And for those of you who don't know or haven't heard, The Rec Room is a podcast put on by Henry County, Georgia, the best run Parks and Rec department in America. We're giving them that title. Now I know that's fighting words for everybody else. However, they are brave enough to come online with 6 of their leaders, from the executive director all the way down to accounting, and pull back the curtain, and we get to see how they make decisions. We get a full hour on stage with them. And I just think I'm so honored that they're able to come in and actually give us 12 shows a month where we can kind of see an entire department working in unison, because it's not something that a lot of people get to see. And we don't get to see how a lot of those decisions are made. And so, as far as I know, they're the only park department in America that's doing this. Now, I do encourage many other park and rec departments to do the same and reach out to me, and I will help you produce that show. If you're able to come online and I'll lead the stage and help produce it and do all the technology on the backside and give you a finished product after every show, then I think many of you have very powerful messages to deliver. And you don't have to be the biggest park system in America. You don't have to be the oldest park system in America. You could just be very proud of the team you have, the work you're doing, and you're willing to share that message with the rest of America. And I want to help get that word out for you. And look, we have sponsors that want to sponsor a lot of the shows that we're producing. And so we can help fund a lot of the stuff that, if any costs associated with it. So it's not going to be any charge back to the Parks and Rec department. So that's my offer to everyone. We actually have a few others that we're in negotiation with to do the same thing, just to do a monthly podcast on their Parks and Rec department, and I will interview them. And we actually have, I'm grooming or connecting with other show hosts so that it won't be me all the time hosting every single show. You might be asking yourself, Craig, how are you going to sit here and just talk about Parks and Rec for 48 hours a week? No, I can't. But that's okay, because there are a lot of other gifted people inside the Parks and Rec community that have very good stage presence, that are great articulation, good interviewers. And so we're incorporating them into some of these other shows so that we can kind of help lift that show host burden that currently I'm shouldering. But don't worry, I will still be here for at least 12 hours a week, just because I love this and I got a great team behind me, and a growing team. So I think that's all I have for y'all today as far as an update for the facilities maintenance show. Oh, we had a show guest scheduled for today. Joseph, thank you so much for coming on the show several times. Joseph's been on the show multiple times, and I'm trying to rope him in to be a weekly contributor and a show host for the facilities maintenance show, because he just has a wealth of knowledge in that. But as per Parks and Rec, there's always some emergency that pops up randomly. And so he apologizes for not being able to make the show, but he'll be on the show either later on this week, or we'll try it again next week. So appreciate all that you're doing for us, Joseph, and really all the contributors that are now starting to contribute in a more meaningful way, coming on the show as regular guests. That really is the lifeblood of the show as we build this out. So appreciate all the love and support that we're getting from that. And thank y'all so much for the feedback for the newsletter. Every newsletter, I know every weekly newsletter is just going to get better and better and better. So please keep the critiques coming. If there's anything, any ideas y'all have, if you've written some articles in the past, we would love to highlight an article. I think we'll probably just start off with highlighting 3 or 4 articles a week in our newsletter, in addition to all the other updates and show guests that we have that we're going to highlight. But yeah, that newsletter, I think, was going to be a kind of missing component of a full media company that had both video, audio, and then now the written word weekly newsletter. So thank you to the team working really hard. They worked all weekend to get that first one out this yesterday. And then we'll have another great newsletter ready for y'all. Should be released every Sunday, 6 a.m. Eastern. I think it's going to be when we release that week's newsletter. So be looking for that. And I think that's all I have. So signing off, this is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Facilities Maintenance Show. I will see y'all here in a few minutes, actually about an hour and 6 minutes for the Leaders in Parks and Rec show. But y'all have an awesome day. Thanks. Bye.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content. We elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by the doorman himself, Craig LeBlanc, and National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.